So welcome back. Let's start with the first module, that is Linux history and its features. So what is Linux? As you know, Linux is an operating system. So Linux is an open source based operating system which was developed by Linus Torvalds with the help of 1,000 contributors. So basically, Linux will give you an idea. It is a completely different from a basic operating system. This is an open source OS which gives you a greater advantage where you can see that the programmers can design their own custom operating system. Now, let's see the Linux history. So, as you know, in year 1969, Unix was developed. So, what was Unix? Unix was a multi-user computer operating system. It was widely used for internet servers, workstations, and mainframe computers. So Unix was developed by AT&T corporations in the Bell Laboratories in 1960s, and thus a Unix was preferably commercially available in 1970. So moving on to the next, in year 1980, AIX about IBM, UX of HP, and Solaris of Sun. These were the operating systems. These were the highly integrated Unix operating systems which were always built on a reliancy of machine critical HPE integrity servers like HPUX. That is a highly integrated Unix operating system. And talking about AIX, it is a series of proprietary Unix operating system which was built and sold by IBM. The same way, Solaris was from Sun. So that is regarding 1980. In this, different Unix operating systems were being introduced by different companies. So in 1981, GNU movement started. So what was GNU? GNU explains as GNU, not Unix. So GNU is an extensive collection of free software which can be used as an operating system or can also be used in the parts with other operating system. The use of completed GNU tool led to the family of operating system which is popularly known as Linux. So most of the GNU is licensed under the GNU projects with their own general public license. So after the GNU movement started in 1981, in year 1990, Linus Torvalds released its Linux under the GNU project. So it was made free, it was open source, and it was under a general public license, open to all. Thus, after this, from year 1990 to the year 2021, we have seen different operating systems. There are multiple distributions of Linux from Red Hat, Ubuntu, SUSE, Novell. There are different operating systems you can see under the Linux. So this is all regarding the Linux history. It was born with the Unix from 1960s and it's progressing with different multiple distributions of Linux till 2021. So moving on to the next, what are the features of Linux? Why do we go for Linux? So first is that it has free license under GNU project. It is open source, that is the source code is publicly available. Now cloud repository for 10,000 plus software and updates are being available. The security feature is also the protection against malware is done. So Linux has a best security features. So it provides a security in three ways, like namely authenticating, assigning password, logging, authorization, setting read and write permissions, encryption. So this all comes under Linux security. So also there are multiple distributions available with the support packages. So as we saw, Red Hat, Ubuntu, these are the multiple distributions. So talking more about Linux feature is that it gives you a multi-user capability where multiple users can access the same system with different resources like memory, hard disk, etc. So also it gives you a multitasking that more than one function can be performed simultaneously by dividing the CPU time intelligently. It is portable. Portability doesn't mean that it is smaller in size or can be carried in pen drives or memory card. It means that it supports different types of hardware. So, also the graphic user interface. Linux is a command line based OS, but it can be converted to a GUI based by installing some packages. Also, it supports application. It has its own software repository from where users can download and install many applications. The file system, which Linux holds, provides an hierarchical file system in which files and directories are arranged. And at the last, why do we go for Linux? As Linux is completely different from other operating systems in many ways. A global development community look at different ways to enhance its security. So hence it is highly secured and robust. So you don't need an antivirus to scan it regularly. Companies like Google, Amazon, Facebook use Linux in order to protect their servers as it is highly reliable and stable. It is completely trouble-free operating system and don't have any issues regarding viruses, malware or slowing down of the computer. So this is all about the Linux feature. So let's take a break over here.